Let's go into the fantasy takeaways. Now, my man, Russell Wilson.
That's right.
That's right. Can he no longer be started in fantasy lineups after whatever the hell happened last night?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, all jokes aside, look, I've met Russell Wilson a couple of times in my life. Could not be a lovelier person. Like the wholesome sort of guy you see. Like, I don't know what he's like in real life, but I will just tell you that I've met him in, like, away from cameras. And he was what you'd expect him to be, which is genuine and interested and nice and normal and like a good dude. And so I understand there's a lot of people that want to bag on sort of the for lack of a better way to describe it, the cornball nature of Let's Ride and all of that and Mr. Unlimited. But I don't root for good guys. There's enough bad guys in the NFL. I don't root for bad guys. It's for good guys to fail. But I do think it's fair, and so I don't want to make fun of that. I will say that it is fair to criticize the performance because it hasn't been there. It hasn't been there from an NFL perspective. You just watch the games. From an eye test, you're like, That ain't the same guy.
No.
It's bad. And, like a lot of people are going to focus on him missing Kamler on the last play. Right? I mean, but
what is that?
I mean,
what
like
is
you're just
that?
like, right? This is just that's sloppy football. It's bad. As we're watching the play on the show on Peacock, where he just threw the bad interception. Just it felt like he was trying to throw it away, and he just, just an easy sort of can of corn there for the outfielder as well, and then throwing the pick into the end zone as well. Two bad picks. He came into Week 5, surprisingly enough, as the 12th best quarterback in fantasy. A lot of that sort of, risen up by his Week 4 performance, the crazy game as well, where he had a huge game. He was on my love list last week. That paid off for me. He wound up as QB3, 27.5 fantasy points in Week 4. But QB14, QB24, QB28. And that was his first 3 weeks. And he was in Week 3, he was QB28. He scored 9.1 fantasy points. Last night, he scored 9.2.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of football still to play, but he's going to be somewhere in the 25 to 32 range for quarterbacks. So 4 out of the 5 games that Russell Wilson has played, he has been quarterback 14 or worse. 3 out of the 5 games he's played, he's been quarterback 24 or worse. And by the way, here's their upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
At the Chargers, that's not a good matchup. You don't love that. Home to the Jets, okay, fine. That's not a pushover matchup, but that's you're not scared about that, especially because it's at home. But at Jacksonville,
it's tough. They got a good defense.
Yeah, the Swagwars.
Yeah,
I've been on the Jaguars all year. You know this. I don't know when are you finally coming on board, Jay?
Maybe this week.
Maybe this week.
I finally buy in after they beat the Texans.
I've been begging you to get on board with the Jaguars. I'm alone and talking to people. This is a good team. But and then he's at Tennessee in Week 4. If you went into the season with Russell Wilson as your only quarterback, you need another option.
Yeah, you need a Marcus Mariota. You need someone else, anyone else. I just think the aura around Russell Wilson is gone as well. Like, think about if you're a Ravens fan or a Ravens money line bettor against the Bills, as soon as Lamar threw that pick, you knew that Josh Allen was driving down the field and winning that game. Russell Wilson used to inspire that same stuff just 2 years ago, and now that guy is just completely gone at the moment.
Right. There's some guys in the NFL. Brady's one of them. Mahomes is one of them. Josh Allen is one of them. Jalen Hurts is getting there. But Allen, Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers. Oh, wait, you just gave me you're down whatever you need, and you just gave the ball back to Aaron Rodgers on his own 20 with 45 seconds left. Yep. Tom Brady, Josh Allen. You're like, this might. Yeah, exactly. Right. And like you used to feel that way about Russell Wilson, and you certainly don't. I agree with you. There is no mystique there anymore. They are last in the NFL in touchdown conversion in the red zone. They've had fewer than 10 yards per attempt in 4 out of the 5 games. I get that it was a short week and the Colts have a good defense, but that was bad last night. And what's happening is that whether it's Hackett or Russell Wilson or a combination thereof, I said this on the radio. I did a radio interview on the way in. I bet you, I wish I could put lines on this, but someone call a BetMGM and see if they'll get me a line for this, okay? But I bet I would love to make this bet that somewhere in the next 3 weeks, it leaks out, and I'm using air quotes for those that are listening, it leaks out that Russell's been playing with a bad shoulder.
Yeah.
Or that, or like he's been playing through a tough ankle, or the wrist is still bothering. So he's so tough. He's a warrior. He didn't want to complain about it, but he's clearly less than 100%. Like something's going to leak out to try to protect how poorly he has played.
I'll give you a line. That's minus 2,000. That's happening. It's definitely happening. Look,
I would still take that. I would still take the bet.
I think the concern as well is that it's on him. Like, his offensive line has been good. Like, just watch the last play of the game. That's the perfect kind of encapsulation. Perfect blocking. They have the second best pass blocking grade by PFF, the Broncos. Judy hasn't been great. Sutton's been fine. But this is on Russ. And so one of his supporting cast members who was, fine, Melvin Gordon, who had 15 rushing attempts for 54 yards, gets the 3 receptions for 49 receiving yards. I mean, is Melvin Gordon, particularly with how bad Russ has been and potentially the Broncos leaning on the run game more, could he be a top 20 running back going forward?
He's a sell high is what he is.
Okay.
Melvin Gordon's a sell high. If you watch that game closely, and sadly, I'm contractually required to do so because that's my job. Literally, I'm on the couch with my wife and my oldest son and his girlfriend, and we're all watching. And, my wife is like, this is brutal. And I know, but I'm on national TV tomorrow talking about this piece of blank, and I said a bad word. So no, I watched that game closely. And Melvin Gordon was somewhat effective in the passing game.
Yep.
He was not effective in the running game, and it's only because, again, Colts were traveling on a short week, playing at Mile High. I know that's not the name of the field, but like the elevation, they were tired towards the end, and so Melvin Gordon started to get some chunk plays. But I got news for you, right? So he got 13.3 fantasy points, and he got a couple of goal line opportunities, didn't convert because they're the Broncos. But he played 59% of the team's offensive snaps, and 37% of the snaps in the second half. Felt like as it was getting close and they needed it, Melvin Gordon, who didn't fumble last night, and it was the first game all year that he didn't. Latavius Murray is coming. And so I believe at best, Melvin Gordon is the head of a 3-headed running back by committee on a bad offense. And so I think you can take this 13.3 fantasy performance from last night and potentially trade him next week. Be like, look, he's going to get all the work. Russell's bad. Like, they're going to lean more on the run game. No Javonte Williams. Like, I think you can sell Melvin Gordon with sort of that narrative, but I want out. I want out of this offense. Like, I still like Courtland Sutton, but I want out of the business of the Denver Broncos offense for the foreseeable future. And I do think Latavius Murray is going to have a real role here. Nothing Melvin Gordon did last night made me go yeah.
Yep.
Like, he had a couple of nice plays in the passing game. Yep. But again, I think they'll use some Mike Boone there too, and I don't know that you can count on that. And
I think as well, I think
his value is, I think he'll be usable, but I think Melvin Gordon's value is actually at its highest right now.
Yeah, to play into that, there was something last night that was interesting where the Colts, they kind of gave Melvin Gordon some extra yards because they weren't trying to tackle him, they were just trying to force a fumble. Mm-hmm. That's what they were doing, and if they're doing that, if teams are kind of overcompensating to try and force fumbles and there's more likelihood, he's one fumble away from just being in the doghouse and being in real trouble, particularly with Latavius Murray coming in. All right, Jerry Jeudy, has he reached the point of unplayable like his quarterback Russell Wilson? 3 for 53 last night, no touchdowns, did have 8 targets.
Yeah, I mean, great. I mean, and by targets, you mean it was thrown on the general side of the field that he was on.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm not dropping Jerry Jeudy, but I can't start him with any confidence. I'm not starting him next week at the Chargers.
No.
And let's see what happens. I could see starting him at home with the Jets. I think he's going to be a spot starter, but he's had 31 career games. He's had fewer than 16 fantasy points in 28 of them. So the upside really isn't there. He's had single-digit fantasy points in 3 out of 5 games so far this year, right? I mean, he really needs to be a volume guy because he's not a touchdown guy. I mean, he's had 31 career games. He's got 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns in 31 career games. And so the argument is, he's had bad quarterback play. I got news for you. He's still got bad quarterback play. So, yeah, I mean, the only person that I am starting with confidence on the Broncos offense is Courtland Sutton. Let's quickly move to the Colts now and Matt Ryan. No one's starting Matt Ryan.
No.
The question is he decent enough, competent enough to keep fantasy relevant pass catchers afloat? Michael Pittman, I thought that's a pretty good 5 for 59. Look, he was covered
the
by
Patrick Surtain
Surtain,
treatment.
Really tough. He 99% of the offensive snaps, short week. Not worried about Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce, I think, could be a thing, though.
I think so too.
Yeah,
he was everywhere last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is now back-to-back weeks with over 80 receiving yards. He's had more than 60 in 3 straight games. He's averaging 11 yards a target in his last 3. Feels like the Colts have finally figured out, okay, hey, there's another viable pass catcher, especially with teams giving so much attention to Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce is going to be a thing. He's available in 92% of Yahoo leagues, Jay. And I thought just from an NFL standpoint, he made some contested catches. He ran good routes. This is a guy that a lot of people loved as a sleeper coming out of Cincinnati. So, I think a lot of people felt like in the draft that Chris Ballard got a steal with Alec Pierce. And so I'm buying in. I mean, we like the talent. He was somebody we already liked in Dynasty, but I do think he's a viable guy going forward.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign as well for his talent level and production that the Broncos were so concerned about him that they actually put Surtain on him at the end off of Michael Pittman, who's a top 15 receiver in the NFL.
Easy.
I do think it's incredible that Matt Ryan had 2 interceptions, got sacked 6 times, including a strip sack, and was clearly the better quarterback in the game for mine. He made some plays. He stood up in the pocket, took some hits.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.